The stars were bright that day, scattered like silver dust across the endless black. The great station of Valak Prime floated quietly, a fortress of metal and light, where hundreds of alien species met to trade, argue, and boast about their power. It was here, in the heart of the galaxy's pride, that humans arrived with something unusual. They did not bring great warships this time. They did not bring weapons or soldiers in shining armor. Instead, they carried cages. And inside those cages were creatures that made the aliens laugh. The largest of the cages held something the aliens could at least understand. Dogs. Fierce war dogs, trained to obey, trained to guard. The aliens nodded at that. They had seen animals used in battle before. On some worlds, beasts were even mounted, ridden into war. That made sense. But then there was the small cage. The aliens leaned closer, expecting another hound, or perhaps some small predator with sharp teeth. But what they saw instead made their lips curl in amusement. A small animal, no bigger than a child, with rough fur, short legs, and eyes that glowed with strange anger. Its body looked clumsy, heavy in the middle, with a flat head and long claws. It did not look fast. It did not look powerful. And when it yawned, showing teeth that were sharp but not extraordinary, the gathered aliens began to laugh. This, one tall Serix warrior said, his scales glittering as he pointed. This is a pet? This is what humans bring to the halls of power. The crowd murmured. Some chuckled. Some burst into full laughter. The echo rang down the metal corridors of the station. A Kelvari diplomat hissed with delight. Do humans think the galaxy will tremble at this little beast? What is it? A child's toy? A creature to chase rats? More laughter followed. The humans stood in silence. They were a small delegation, only 3 officers in uniform. One of them, a captain named Harris, watched the aliens with calm eyes. He did not laugh. He did not speak. Instead, he rested his hand lightly on the top of the cage, as if he knew something the aliens did not. The honey badger inside moved. Slowly, it turned its head toward the sound of the laughter. Its small black eyes scanned the crowd of aliens. And though the cage was thick steel, though the creature was locked behind bars, every alien who met its gaze felt something strange. The laughter grew weaker. It was as if the little beast was staring directly at their hearts. But still, the mockery continued. Humans, another alien said, this one a proud commander of the Valok fleets, are a curious race. They bring toys to war, and they think it is clever. But let me say this now. In battle, such toys will burn. No creature that small can survive the fire of plasma guns or the claws of real predators. The others nodded. To them, war was measured in size, in numbers, in firepower. Ships that blotted out suns. Cannons that cracked mountains. Armies that marched for miles. What could this badger do? Captain Harris finally spoke. His voice was calm, almost quiet, yet the chamber grew still to hear him. You see a pet, he said, but what you do not see is spirit. This creature fears nothing. It does not know surrender. It does not understand the word retreat. The Serix warrior sneered. It is an animal. Yes, Harris said, and it is more dangerous than you imagine. The aliens roared with laughter again. The Kelvari diplomat clutched his side, almost unable to breathe. Dangerous? This clumsy rat? Humans, your humor is famous, but this is beyond comedy. Harris did not argue. He did not raise his voice. He only smiled, and for the briefest moment, his hand moved away from the cage. The honey badger slammed against the bars with sudden fury, teeth bared, claws raking at steel. The sound was a thunderous scrape, sharp enough to make some of the aliens flinch. The laughter froze. The creature hissed a low, furious sound, as if it wanted nothing more than to tear into the crowd. It pressed so hard against the cage that the steel bent just slightly, and then it stopped, as if nothing had happened. It lay down, licking its paws, eyes half closed. The aliens looked at one another. They forced more laughter, but it was thinner now, more nervous. Captain Harris spoke again, softer this time. You laugh now, but one day you'll understand why we never laugh at the honey badger. The aliens shook their heads, waving him off. To them, humans were strange and dramatic, always speaking of honor, of spirit, of strange little creatures no one else valued. They would forget this moment, they thought. They would move on to real matters of war. But deep inside, in a place they did not want to admit, the image of the creature's eyes stayed with them. Black, cold, and furious. Not the look of prey, not the look of a toy, but the look of something that would never, ever stop. The mockery had begun, but so had the first whispers of fear. The laughter did not end that day on Volok Prime. It grew louder. Rumors spread quickly across the station, carried in every bar, every trading hall, every military outpost. Humans, the aliens whispered, bring pets to the battlefield. Tiny animals, no bigger than a sack of grain, and they claim these pets are dangerous. The tale became a joke. Alien officers told it at meetings. Traders laughed about it while selling goods. Children imitated the sound of the small beast, growling and pretending to scratch its steel bars, only to fall over giggling. But mockery always leads to challenge. It happened in the war hall, where generals and commanders often met to discuss strategy. The hall was wide, with banners from 100 worlds hanging down, showing the pride of each species. That day, the humans stood quietly in the corner while others spoke. Their pet rested in its cage beside them, eyes glowing like coals in the dark. A Syrinx warrior named Vikar, huge and proud, leaned forward. His voice boomed through the chamber. Enough talk of ships and fleets. Let us test this human weapon. Let us see if their toy has teeth. The hall went silent. Dozens of alien eyes turned toward the humans. Some were curious, some amused, others eager for a show. Captain Harris met Vikar's gaze without fear. "And what do you suggest?" he asked. Vikar bared his fangs. "We place it in the proving arena, a test of survival. One of our hunting beasts against your honey badger." He spat the human word as though it tasted foul. The chamber erupted with approval. Aliens clapped their claws, slammed their armored fists, shouted in excitement. A duel between predator and prey was entertainment to them. The humans did not protest. They did not bargain. Harris only said, "Very well." The proving arena was a deep pit of stone and metal, carved into the side of the station. Its walls rose high, impossible to climb. The floor was covered in dust and sand, marked by old bloodstains from past battles. Thousands of aliens gathered in the stands above, voices echoing like thunder. The honey badger's cage was brought into the center. The small creature paced back and forth, claws scratching the steel. Its head moved side to side, restless, as if it knew what was coming. At the other side of the arena, heavy gates opened. Out stepped a beast bred for war, a Zaltharian predator, twice the size of a lion, with spines running down its back and jaws wide enough to crush bone. Its eyes glowed red as it sniffed the air, hunting for prey. The crowd cheered. Bets were placed. Alien children leaned forward eagerly. To them, this was already over. "A single bite," one whispered. "The pet will die in seconds." The gate clanged shut. Silence fell. Then the signal horn sounded. The predator roared, shaking the arena walls. It charged across the sand, claws tearing the ground, mouth open to swallow the tiny creature whole. The honey badger did not run. It stood still, low to the ground, staring at the beast with unblinking eyes. At the last possible moment, when the predator's shadow fell over it, the honey badger moved. It leapt sideways with surprising speed, claws flashing. Its teeth sank deep into the predator's leg. Blood sprayed across the sand. The predator screamed in fury, thrashing to shake it off. But the honey badger held tight, claws digging deeper, tearing flesh as if ripping cloth. The crowd gasped. The predator slammed its body against the wall, tried to crush the small creature. Dust and stone rained down. Still the honey badger clung on, snarling like a demon. It climbed higher, tearing up the predator's side, leaving deep wounds behind. Finally, it leapt for the throat, its jaws locked. The predator staggered, howled, and fell to the sand. Its great body twitched once, then went still. Silence. Thousands of eyes stared in disbelief. The humans stood calmly at the edge of the arena, their faces unreadable. Then, slowly, the honey badger released its grip. Its fur was wet with blood, but its black eyes still burned. It turned, looking up at the crowd. For a long moment it stared, the same cold, fearless stare as before. And in that instant, the aliens understood. This was no toy. This was no pet. This was death in a small, angry body. The hall above erupted with noise. Some shouted in disbelief, others in fear, a few in awe. The Kelvari diplomat trembled, his laughter gone. "It cannot be," he whispered. "No beast that small should kill a predator that size." But it had. Captain Harris stepped forward, voice steady. "You asked for proof. You have it. This is only one." Vikar, the Syrinx warrior who had made the challenge, stared down into the pit. His claws tapped the stone railing, restless. He wanted to laugh again, but no sound came. The image of the small beast tearing apart a predator burned in his mind. Still, pride would not let him yield. "It was luck," Vikar growled. "One victory means nothing. In war, luck dies quickly." Harris only smiled. "Then perhaps you should pray that war never comes. For if it does, luck will not save you from this creature." The honey badger growled again, shaking blood from its jaws. The sound echoed through the arena, low and savage, a promise of more violence to come. The challenge had been made, and the galaxy would never laugh at the honey badger again. The arena smelled of blood. The sand was still dark with the predator's lifeless body when the humans were asked a question that hung heavy in the air. "Was that it?" A voice hissed in the crowd. "Or will you dare again?" The alien commanders were restless. Pride would not allow them to accept the first match as proof. They claimed the predator had been weak, that it had not fought at full strength. They whispered excuses, unwilling to believe that such a small creature could defeat something bred for killing. So another test was demanded. This time not a beast, a soldier. The proving arena was reset. The gates clanged open once more, but this time a trained alien warrior stepped forward. His armor gleamed under the lights, a plasma spear clutched in his hands. His species, the Jorith, were known for their cruelty in battle. Tall, lean, with jagged teeth and skin tough as stone, he had killed dozens in war. The crowd cheered as he raised a spear and slammed it against his shield. Sparks flew. He roared a battle cry that shook the walls. In the opposite cage, the honey badger stirred. Its fur was still matted with the blood of the predator it had slain. The cage door creaked open. The small beast stepped onto the sand once again, claws leaving marks in the dust. The crowd laughed nervously. Some jeered. Others leaned forward in anticipation. This was no mindless monster now. This was a warrior against an animal. The result seemed obvious. The signal horn blared. The Jorith soldier moved first, circling the honey badger, spear ready. He was cautious. He had seen what the creature did to the predator. But caution turned quickly to arrogance. The honey badger did not run. It did not hesitate. It charged straight at him. The alien thrust his spear downward. The point struck the creature's back, but to his shock, the spear slid off, barely piercing the thick hide. The honey badger twisted, clamped its jaws around the shaft, and with a violent jerk, snapped it in half. The soldier's eyes widened. The honey badger leapt, claws slashing across his armor. Sparks flew as metal tore like paper. The alien staggered back, blood staining the sand. He roared in pain and swung his shield, slamming the creature aside. The honey badger rolled, then sprang back to its feet, angrier than before. The crowd gasped. The soldier tried again, drawing his sidearm, a plasma pistol. He fired once. The bolt seared across the honey badger's side, burning fur. For any other beast, that would be the end. But the honey badger did not fall. It did not retreat. It howled, a furious sound that echoed through the pit. And then it was on him again. The alien fired wildly, bolts flashing, but the creature was too fast. It climbed his arm, teeth sinking into his neck. Blood poured. The pistol clattered to the ground. The soldier screamed, his voice breaking into a gargle as the honey badger's claws ripped deeper. In moments, the great Jorth warrior fell to his knees, then to the sand. His body twitched once, then stilled. The honey badger stood on his chest, blood dripping from its mouth. It looked up at the crowd again, unblinking, fearless. The arena was silent. For the first time, no one laughed. The aliens in the stands shifted nervously. Some whispered that it was impossible. Others muttered about forbidden human science, convinced the creature had been enhanced. But the humans said nothing. They only watched, silent as stone. Captain Harris finally spoke, his voice carrying across the pit. "You see now, this is no trick. This is no experiment. This is Earth. This is nature." The Kelvari diplomat trembled, his scaled hands gripping the railing. Impossible. No creature should survive a plasma strike. No beast should kill a trained warrior. "And yet," Harris said, "you see it with your own eyes." The Syrinx warrior Vicar rose, scales bristling. His pride burned hotter than his reason. "It was one soldier," he growled. "A mere duel. In war there are legions. This beast cannot fight an army." Harris did not smile this time. He only answered, "Are you certain?" The honey badger snarled below, shaking gore from its muzzle. The sound carried up to every corner of the arena, deep and primal, a sound that promised war. That night, the story spread across the station like fire. The honey badger had not only killed a predator, but also a soldier. And not just killed. It had refused to die, even when burned by plasma. Alien whispers turned to fear. If this is their smallest pet, they muttered, what other terrors does Earth hide? In the shadows of Volok Prime, a quiet shift had begun. No one admitted it openly, not yet, but in the secret hearts of generals and leaders, respect for humanity was no longer a choice. It was survival. The honey badger had won its first true battle, and the galaxy would never forget the sight of it standing on a warrior's corpse, eyes burning like fire. The galaxy is vast, but pride is larger still. The Syrinx, the Jorth, the Kelvari, all the great warrior species of the stars, did not forget their humiliation. They tried to laugh off the arena duel, but whispers of fear grew louder each day. The image of the small, bloody beast standing on a warrior's chest would not leave their minds. So they made a choice. Pride demanded war. The alliance of alien empires sent a message to Earth. A challenge, a declaration. Humanity, young among the stars, was too bold, too defiant, too dangerous. Their pets were proof of something the galaxy could not accept, that humans thrived where fear should rule. The war began in fire. Alien fleets moved like storms, their ships darkening the void as they approached human colonies. Plasma batteries lit up the black skies. Orbital strikes rained down on settlements. Entire cities burned in the opening days. The galaxy expected humanity to break. Many thought Earth would beg for mercy, surrendering before the fleets. But humans did not beg. They prepared. And when the first battles began, the aliens learned a new kind of fear. On the desert moon of Karathor, where the sand never cooled and the wind howled through canyons, alien legions marched to crush a human outpost. The Serex's army advanced in shining armor, weapons ready, claws glinting in the sun. They expected a short fight, but when the first gates opened, it was not just soldiers who poured out. It was them. Dozens of small, furious creatures charged across the sand, their short legs moving like pistons, their snarls louder than the wind. Honey badgers, fitted with light armor plates and guided by human handlers, tore into the Serex's ranks. The Serex's laughed at first. They called them rats in armor. They raised their blades to cut them down. And then the screaming began. A honey badger launched itself onto a Serex's chest, claws ripping through the gaps in his armor. Another bit deep into a soldier's leg, dragging him down into the dust. The Serex's formation broke as the creatures swarmed, small but unstoppable, fighting with rage that no weapon could tame. Even when struck with plasma fire, the honey badgers refused to fall. Wounded, burned, bleeding, they kept moving, kept biting, kept clawing. The human soldiers advanced behind them, rifles blazing. But it was the honey badgers that broke the alien lines. Fear spread faster than bullets. By nightfall, the outpost still stood. The Serex's army was gone, torn apart, scattered, humiliated. Word of the battle spread. The whispers turned to shouts. "The demons of Earth are loose," alien soldiers muttered. "Even fire cannot kill them." On another front, deep in the frozen tunnels of the ice world Grenthal, the Jorah thought they had the advantage. They knew the caves, the shadows, the paths through the glaciers. Their soldiers moved silently, ready to trap the humans in the dark. But silence meant nothing when the sound of snarls filled the tunnels. The honey badgers came like shadows themselves, slipping into cracks and holes, striking from the dark. Jorah's warriors fired blindly, but the creatures were already upon them, teeth tearing, claws digging into stone and flesh alike. One Jorah survivor later told his commander, "They do not fight like animals. They fight like hate itself." The tunnels ran red with blood. Everywhere the war spread, the story was the same. Honey badgers on jungle worlds, ripping through thick vines and enemy camps. Honey badgers in swamps, dragging alien soldiers into the mud. Honey badgers even aboard starships, released in tight corridors where their fury turned ships into tombs. The galaxy had seen beasts before. It had seen predators, war hounds, even engineered monsters. But nothing compared to the raw, natural fury of Earth's smallest terror. The alien commanders began to fear their own soldiers. Armies that once marched proudly now trembled at the thought of facing the humans and their beasts. Some refused to fight altogether. They whispered the new name given across the stars, the Death Badgers. But humanity called them by their old name still, Honey Badgers. And the humans knew a truth the aliens did not. This was only the beginning. In the grand halls of the war councils, alien leaders shouted in anger. "How can such small beasts destroy entire armies?" one demanded. "They are unnatural," cried another. "Human science has twisted them into monsters." But when spies reported back, the truth was worse. The honey badger was no weapon built in a lab. It was no genetic experiment. It was natural, born of Earth, shaped only by survival. The galaxy shuddered. If this was what humanity considered an ordinary animal, what other terrors lived on that blue world? The war was no longer about pride or honor. It was about survival. Human fleets pushed forward, step by bloody step, their soldiers side by side with their strange allies. Every victory brought more fear. Every defeat of the aliens echoed across the stars. And through it all, one phrase began to spread, whispered in every tongue, in every port, in every shadowed corner of the galaxy. Never laugh at humanity's pets. The war had only just begun, and the honey badgers were hungry. The galaxy had seen war before. It had seen fleets clash in orbit, planets burn under plasma fire, and soldiers die in endless rows. But never had it seen war like this. This was different. This was not just about ships or guns or strategy. This was about fear, and fear spreads faster than fire. It began with whispers among the soldiers. At first, the reports were dismissed as exaggerations, campfire tales told to frighten recruits. "They cannot be killed," said one voice in the dark. "They bite through armor," muttered another. "They fight even after death," whispered a third. Stories grew with every battle. The Serix claimed the creatures could chew through steel. The Joriths swore they had seen a honey badger crawl out of a burning crater, still alive, still snarling. The Kelvari spoke of entire squads vanishing in the night, their bodies found later, torn apart by something small enough to slip between shadows. Soon the whispers were no longer jokes. They were warnings. On the swamp world of Darnath, an alien soldier wrote a final message to the commander before deserting. "They are not animals," he wrote with shaking claws. "They are demons given form. They do not stop. They do not fear. When you hear their growls in the dark, you know your life has ended. I will not return to the front. I would rather face execution than face the humans' beast again." The message spread through the ranks. More soldiers deserted. More officers reported units refusing to march if they believed honey badgers were near. Some fled in panic at nothing more than the sound of scratching claws. An army is built on courage, but courage was rotting. The fear reached the high councils. On Volok Prime, where the war had begun with laughter, silence now ruled the chambers. The same leaders who once mocked humans now whispered among themselves. "This cannot continue," hissed the Kelvari lord. "Our soldiers break before they even see battle," growled a Serix general. "If this goes on, our fleets will collapse," muttered a Jorith commander. They tried to find answers. Some demanded proof that the honey badger was not natural. They accused humans of using forbidden science. But every investigation returned the same truth. The creature was no invention. It was simply real, and that truth was worse than any lie. Because if even Earth's smallest, ordinary animals were this ferocious, what else lived on that blue planet? What else had humans seen, survived, and perhaps tamed? The galaxy's fear turned into superstition. On merchant ships, crews carried charms shaped like honey badgers, hoping they would ward off the creature's rage. On mining colonies, workers refused to dig in tunnels unless guards swore there were no earth beasts nearby. Children played games where they pretended to be honey badgers, chasing each other with snarls and fearless eyes. And in the armies, the fear grew worse. One report came from the ice world of Grenthal. A Jor battalion had been ordered to hold a canyon pass against approaching humans. Their numbers were strong, their weapons superior. Victory should have been certain. But before the humans even arrived, the battalion broke. Not one shot fired. They abandoned their posts, fleeing into the blizzards, weapons left behind. Why? Because in the distance, carried on the frozen wind, they thought they heard it. A growl, low, cold, unstoppable, the growl of the honey badger. When scouts investigated later, they found no creatures at all. It had only been the wind, but the damage was done. The fear had hollowed their hearts long before any battle began. On another front, the Serix Navy faced disaster. In orbit above the jungle planet Rither, their ships clashed with human fleets. The battle raged, plasma beams cutting through black space, missiles streaking like falling stars. A Syrinx commander ordered his soldiers to board a human frigate, expecting an easy victory in the narrow halls. His troops stormed the ship, plasma rifles ready, claws sharp. They never returned. When reinforcements arrived, they found only silence. The halls of the frigate were dark, walls scarred with claws, blood dripping from the ceilings. Bodies lay everywhere, Syrinx torn apart in ways no weapon could explain. At the center of the carnage, still snarling even as it lay riddled with wounds, was a single honey badger. It had killed them all. The ship was still in human hands. The Syrinx commander reported the loss with shaking voice. "It was not soldiers who defeated us," he said. "It was one, just one." The fear spread deeper. The galaxy began to speak of Earth in new tones. Once, humans had been seen as newcomers, inexperienced, too bold for their own good. The old empires mocked them as dreamers, reckless children daring to stand among giants. Now, the whispers carried respect. "Do not fight the humans," one Kelvari lord told his son. "They walk beside monsters. Pray the badgers do not come to your world." An old Syrinx warned the soldiers. "Fear the planet that breeds such beasts," muttered the Jorth admiral. But humanity did not boast. They did not spread the stories themselves. They only fought, step by step, battle by battle. And everywhere they fought, the honey badgers fought too. On deserts, their snarls carried across dunes. In jungles, their eyes glowed in the dark. On starships, their claws scraped against steel, echoing in the halls. Everywhere they were the same. Fearless, unstoppable, relentless. Alien scholars tried to understand. They studied the honey badger's body. Its hide thick enough to resist plasma burns, its jaws strong enough to crush bone. They mapped its brain, small but wired with fury and stubbornness unlike any other predator. They measured its blood, its heart, its reflexes. But no matter how much they studied, they found no secret, no trick, no hidden science. Only nature, only Earth. And that realization frightened them more than anything else. Because if this was nature's ordinary work on Earth, then Earth itself was a nightmare. What did the oceans hold? What did the mountains hide? What other beasts roamed that strange, dangerous world? The galaxy's great powers, once arrogant, once certain of their superiority, began to doubt everything. On Volok Prime, a secret meeting was held. Leaders of 3 great empires gathered in silence. "The humans will not stop," one whispered. "Their beasts are endless," said another. "If we cannot win against their smallest pet, how can we ever defeat them?" But no answer came, only silence, because deep down they knew the truth. The war was already lost. Not on the battlefield, not in the skies, not in the councils. Because no weapon is more powerful than fear. Across the galaxy, one phrase became law, passed from soldier to soldier, child to child, world to world. A phrase that began as a joke, but ended as prophecy. Never laugh at humanity's pets. And so the legend of the honey badger spread. Not as rumor, not as superstition, but as truth carved into the memory of the stars. The fear had taken root, and it would never leave. The galaxy demanded answers. For months, the war had dragged on, and with every battle, the whispers grew. The honey badgers were everywhere, on battlefields, in tunnels, even inside ships. Soldiers feared their growls more than human guns. Commanders dreaded the scratching of claws more than the thunder of artillery. The question rose in every council chamber. What are these creatures? Alien empires searched for explanations that could ease their shame. They told themselves humans had broken the laws of nature, that the honey badger was no animal but a weapon, engineered, altered, designed in a lab to terrify the galaxy. It was easier to believe in human trickery than to face the truth, but truth has a way of spreading. It began when a Kelvari spy ship intercepted a human freighter near the asteroid belt of Harn. Expecting weapons, the Kelvari raiders boarded. They found crates marked with Earth symbols, guarded heavily. The raiders fought, claw and blade against rifle and steel. When the battle ended, the Kelvari carried the crates back to their ship. Inside they found cages, and inside the cages more honey badgers. The raiders recoiled, but as they studied the creatures, they realized something shocking. These honey badgers bore no marks of science, no cybernetic implants, no genetic signatures. Their DNA matched perfectly with samples already taken from battlefield corpses. They were natural. Word of this discovery spread quickly through the galaxy. The laughter that once filled the war councils never returned. Now, there was only silence. The leaders of the Serex, Jorth, and Kelvari met in secret, desperate to find reassurance. This cannot be true, one hissed. No natural beast could be so relentless. And yet it is. Another growled. The humans have done nothing. These monsters are born this way. Then what does that mean for Earth? Whispered third, voice trembling. If this is only one of their smallest animals, what nightmares roam the rest of their world? None dared answer. Humanity, for their part, never denied it. When questioned in council, Captain Harris himself spoke calmly. You wanted proof. Here it is. The honey badger has not been altered. It is no weapon. It is simply Earth. The chamber erupted with anger. Alien leaders shouted accusations. Lies, cried the Kelvari. Deception, roared the Serex. Trickery, spat the Jorth. But Harris did not raise his voice. He only played a simple recording. Images filled the hall. Footage taken not in space, not in war, but on Earth itself. A honey badger raiding a beehive, stung by thousands of bees, yet refusing to stop. A honey badger fighting a cobra, struck again and again with venom, collapsing for moments, only to rise once more and kill the snake. A honey badger stealing food from lions, clawing at predators 10 times its size, refusing to yield. The images spoke louder than words. The aliens sat in silence, their faces pale, their eyes wide. This was no weapon forged by human hands. This was something far worse. This was nature itself. Across the galaxy, the revelation spread like wildfire. In the taverns of merchant stations, traders repeated the story with fear in their voices. The humans didn't make them, they said. They're real, born like that. The planet breeds them. In the barracks of alien armies, soldiers whisper to each other. If their pets are monsters, then what are their predators? What are their oceans? What are their skies? Rumors grew wild. Some claimed Earth seas boil with creatures larger than ships. Others swore its forests crawl with predators sharper than any blade. A few whispered that even humans themselves were only the surface of the nightmare, that the planet had darker things, kept hidden until the time of need. Fear became certainty. The battlefield told the rest. On the desert world of Carafor, a Serex commander refused to order his troops forward. His scouts had reported honey badgers among the enemy. He ignored the pleas of his superiors. I will not march my soldiers into hell, he said. On the mining colony of Dreschel, Jorth workers rioted when told they must fortify against a human landing. We will not fight Earth's beasts, they screamed. And on Volok Prime itself, where it had all begun, children played a new game. They did not pretend to be Serex warriors or Jorah soldiers anymore. They pretended to be honey badgers, snarling, clawing, refusing to surrender. The galaxy's culture itself was changing. But for the humans, the revelation was not new. They had always known. To them, the honey badger was not a secret weapon. It was simply another example of Earth's will to survive. A creature too stubborn to die, too fearless to bow, too wild to break. And in that reflection, humanity saw itself. They had endured plagues, famine, storms, and wars even before they reached the stars. Like the honey badger, they had learned to fight without surrender, to rise again after being struck down, to hold on when others let go. Perhaps that was why the galaxy feared the creatures so much, because in it they saw humanity itself. Alien leaders tried to counter the fear. They issued proclamations. They are only animals, they told their people. Do not fear them, they insisted. They bleed like any other creature, they claimed. But no words could erase the truth. Soldiers had seen the eyes of the honey badger in battle. They had heard its snarl, felt its claws, smelled the blood it left behind. And nothing could take away that memory. The war changed. No longer did alien commanders plan with arrogance. Now they planned with dread. Every map, every strategy, every operation was haunted by the same question. What if the humans unleashed the badgers here? Entire fleets hesitated to move. Armies delayed their advances. Generals fought not against humans, but against their own soldiers' terror. Victory slipped further away with every day. Among the humans, the honey badger became a symbol. Soldiers painted its image on their armor. Pilots carved its shape onto their ships. Entire regiments were named after it: the 77th Badger Guard, the 12th Honey Company. And when honey badgers were released on the battlefield, human soldiers often marched behind them chanting one phrase: "Fear nothing." The galaxy learned. Slowly, painfully, but it learned that humanity had not revealed its greatest weapon. It had revealed its smallest, and the smallest was already enough to bring empires to their knees. On the eve of another council, as alien leaders argued in desperation, one Kelvari diplomat spoke what many fear to say aloud. "If these creatures are not made by humans," he whispered, "then Earth itself is the weapon. And if Earth is a weapon, then no world is safe." Silence followed, because in their hearts, every leader knew it was true. The revelation was complete. Humanity's so-called secret weapon was no secret at all. It was a mirror held up to the galaxy, showing them a truth they had refused to see: that nature itself could be stronger, wilder, and more merciless than any empire's machines. And Earth, home of humans, home of the honey badger, was proof of it. The galaxy had laughed once, but never again. Now, they watched Earth with fear in their eyes, not because of what humanity had built, but because of what it had simply let loose. The war that had begun with laughter ended in silence. The galaxy had once mocked the humans, pointing to their strange companion, their so-called pet. They had laughed at the small beast, no taller than a child, with clumsy legs and rough fur. They had thought it a joke, a toy, a curiosity brought into halls of power. But no one laughed now. Now, when the word honey badger was spoken, voices grew quiet. Soldiers turned pale. Children hid behind their parents. Even commanders, once proud and arrogant, shifted uneasily in their chairs. Because the honey badger had changed the war. And more than the war, it had changed the galaxy itself. On the battlefield, the lesson had been written in blood. Armies broke not because they were outgunned, but because they were outfeared. Fortresses fell not because they were weak, but because they trembled at the thought of what might come through their gates. And in every ruined trench, every shattered ship, one image remained carved into memory: a small creature, jaws red, eyes dark, standing fearless among giants. At the height of the war, when fleets still clashed among the stars, a final push was made against humanity. It was the largest coalition the galaxy had seen in centuries. Syrinx, Jorith, Kelvari, and a dozen lesser powers all joined together. They gathered their fleets, their soldiers, their weapons of terror. It was said their armada blotted out the light of suns as it passed. They came to Earth itself, to the blue planet where it had all begun. They expected to find humans cowering, hiding behind walls, clutching their pets for comfort. They expected an easy victory that would erase their shame. But they had forgotten the first rule of war against Earth. You do not laugh at humanity's pets. The battle for Earth was never truly fought. The alien armada came close, their fleets ready. But before they could even set foot on the soil, their soldiers broke. They mutinied aboard their own ships. They begged their commanders to turn back. They fired on each other, tearing fleets apart in panic. Why? Because rumors had spread faster than their engines. Rumors that Earth held more than honey badgers. That every jungle, every ocean, every desert hid monsters worse than nightmares. That humans were not defending their world alone. They were releasing it. And no soldier, no matter how well trained, wanted to face the birthplace of the honey badger. The armada scattered before the first shot was fired. The war was over. In the years that followed, treaties were signed. Borders were redrawn. Humanity took no pleasure in conquest. They asked only for respect, and after the war, respect was freely given. Not one empire dared insult them again. In fact, many began to imitate them. The Syrinx painted honey badger symbols on their armor, hoping to borrow its spirit. The Jort began rituals where young warriors were told stories of the beast's rage, teaching them that courage meant never yielding. The Kelvari even tried to import honey badgers, though few survived the attempt. But only humans truly understood the lesson, for the honey badger was more than a weapon, more than an animal. It was a mirror. It showed humanity what they already were: stubborn, fearless, unbreakable. They had faced plagues and storms. They had survived their own wars and their own mistakes. They had risen again and again, no matter how many times they were struck down. The honey badger was not their creation. It was their reflection, and the galaxy now saw it too. Legends grew. On faraway stations, merchants told stories of the beasts of Earth that could fight armies alone. In quiet villages on fringe worlds, children played games where one child was a honey badger and the others tried and failed to catch him. In alien academies, new soldiers were taught a strange rule carved into manuals as law. Never underestimate humanity. Never underestimate what walks beside them. And above all, never laugh at their pets. One day, long after the war had ended, Captain Harris stood once more in the chamber of Valak Prime, where it had all begun. The banners still hung, though faded. The alien leaders still sat, though humbled. Before him was no cage this time. No demonstration, no test. Only his words. "You mocked us once," Harris said softly. "You thought the honey badger a joke. But you learned the truth. You learned that courage is not measured by size. You learned that spirit cannot be caged. And you learned that on Earth, even the smallest creatures fight with fury enough to shake empires." The chamber was silent. Not one alien dared interrupt. Harris looked around, his gaze steady. "Remember this lesson well. We did not come to the stars to be your enemies. But if you ever forget, if you ever laugh again," he let the words hang. He did not need to finish. Every alien there already knew the end of that sentence. In time, the galaxy healed. Wars faded. Trade resumed. Peace, fragile but real, stretched across the stars. But the memory remained. Whenever humans walked into alien halls, they were no longer seen as reckless newcomers. They were seen as survivors, as equals, as the species that had tamed the untamable. And the honey badger itself? It lived on as a legend. Some were still trained for battle, though many were returned to Earth, where they roamed wild as they always had. Videos of their battles spread to galaxy's data nets, studied by scholars, feared by soldiers, admired by children. In a way, they became symbols of peace. Because no empire dared test humanity again. Not when they remembered the snarls, the claws, the eyes that never looked away. The honey badger had gone to war, and the galaxy had learned respect. One alien historian, many years later, wrote the tale simply. The humans did not conquer us with ships. They did not conquer us with numbers. They did not conquer us with technology. They conquered us with a lesson. And he wrote that lesson for all to see. In this galaxy, never mock what you do not understand. Never assume weakness from size. And above all, never laugh at humanity's pets. So the story ended, not with explosions, not with victory parades, but with silence. A silence filled with awe and with respect. Because in the end, the smallest beast of Earth had taught the largest lesson of the stars.